episode 2 of the Acorn Cottage Knitting podcast. My name is Jess. I'm a knitter based in the northwest of England in Cheshire. Thank you firstly to everybody who's watched episode 1. I am honestly completely blown away by the amount of support it's had. I think within the first 24 hours it had 100 views, which is just completely incredible. I was not expecting that to happen. So thank you to everybody who has said something to me about it, and to my friends with their own podcasts and their own Instagram channels who have given it a mention and a share. It really does mean a lot. So this is episode 2. Excuse me, I've got hair in my face. So episode 2, I've actually remembered to bring myself a cup of tea for this one. And I've got notes which are on the floor. Might have been a really bad idea to put them there because I'm not sure I can read it from this distance. You'll also have to excuse me if I do go into a bit of a coughing fit. I've been a bit unwell for the last week. I was meant to be filming this last Monday and I completely lost my voice. So it's just about come back, but I can't guarantee that I won't start coughing again. So I'm just going to put the tea down because it's too hot to drink currently. This is the downside of drinking black tea, is that unless you remember to put cold water in, which I never do, it always takes too long to be drinkable. So thank you again to everybody who has watched episode 1. If you've found me here on YouTube, then you will know that I am here as Acorn Cottage Knits. I'm now under the same name on Instagram. I've got around to updating that so that it all ties in. So Acorn Cottage Knits, and also the same on Ravelry. I will put all of them in the description box, providing that I remember to do that after I have filmed. So sorry, I'm looking down at my notes again. Just bear with me, I'm going to have to move these. So I think we will be starting with some finished objects. So the first finished object, which I had got, I've actually finished a garment for myself, which I've made 1 or 2 before. I did a cardigan for myself a year and a bit ago. I didn't really like how it turned out. It was the first garment I had made, and I think I binned it in the end because I just wasn't happy with it. I've done a cardigan for my sister since, which she has, and I hope she likes. Anyway, so this is the garment. So I'm not sure that quite fits in the screen. If I can work out how to do it, I will put a cutaway or put an image in of this at the moment. So this is the Team Winter jumper, which is a drops design pattern with a few modifications that I've done. So this pattern I started quite a while back. My sister doesn't live very close. She's down in London, so and me being up in the northwest, it's quite a distance. She wanted to try knitting something, and she's not a hugely well practiced knitter. She's dabbled in the odd bit here and there. So we tried to pick a design which was fairly basic in terms of the number of stitches or stitch types that were involved. Basically something that I could either help her with or try and explain via Zoom and photos if she needed to correct a stitch or something. So we picked this, and it is knit in the Drops Air yarn, but held double, so really lightweight because it's I think it's a blown yarn, so it looks that kind of chaining, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's so soft, 65% alpaca I think, so it is really warm. I did have some points kind of late summer last year where it was just too warm to knit this because it was honestly absolutely boiling. But yeah, I'm really pleased that I've actually finished it. The original pattern is just kind of a single layered neck. I've chosen to fold mine down and sew it back against itself. I just really love that squishy folded down neck that you get on things. And the other modification I did was the sleeves. So on the pattern, it just has a kind of a fitted sleeve that tapers with the shape of the arm. I decided I would just do that kind of subtle balloon. So I just knit the same number of stitches all the way down to the row before I began the cuff, and then just worked out how many I would need to decrease to go from the number that you have on the sleeve to the number that you have for knitting the cuff. Did that decrease all in one round, so it's got that very kind of dramatic tapered in, and then it's got the ribbed cuff, and I've done my first attempt at a Italian bind off on this one. I think because of the nature of the yarn being a bit fuzzy, it's not as obvious as it might be on a different project, so I think I'll definitely try it again, but we'll see kind of how that goes in terms of getting right. I don't think I got it perfect on this, but then the fluffy nature of the yarn covers it up. So that is my first finished object. As I said, it's the Drops Team Winter Jumper. I've done a size medium and it's Drops Air. The colour is pearl grey. You can see probably I'm still checking down at my notes because I wrote them a couple of days ago. Yeah, I can't quite remember all of the details. So that is the first finished object. I'll just chuck that on the floor. The second finished object is something that I showed as a whip in episode 1, and I'll just grab it now. So this one is a teeny tiny cardigan. If I hold it closer, you can probably see, hopefully, that lace yoke that it's got. So it's got that kind of diamond pattern and then a little lace along the bottom as well, and a slightly more kind of flared second half in the cardigan. So this is the Jasmine Cardigan, which is by Suzie Sparkles. So I've done this in the size 3 to 6 months, I believe. It's a gift for a work friend who's had a granddaughter born in January. So this is now ready to be gifted. I told her she had to wait until I had got some photos and done the podcast before I could give it to her so that I could show it to you. So I've knit this in the Rico Baby Cotton Soft DK yarn, I believe. Feels like a really long name to remember. The colour, I don't think it has an actual name. It was 067. So the balls for that are 50 grams, 125 metres. I used, I think, 2 of them. So I definitely overbought for this. It wasn't the original yarn I'd intended to use. The original yarn just went very wrong and ended up in a massive tangle, so I had to abandon that plan and start with a new yarn. So I had a mad dash into Hobbycraft to find something that looked the right kind of colour, and this is what we ended up with. As I said, I really overbought because they were very low on what they had in the shop, so I just thought I'd get extra so that I don't run out. So I could probably make the whole cardigan again. Not that I'm going to for a while, because the lace yoke does take a lot of concentration. It does make me want to do a lace yoked jumper for myself, but I can only imagine how much hard work that will be. So that's probably one for the future. Yeah, not to do right now. So the other kind of notable thing about that jumper is that I'm going to be entering that into the make-along, which is being hosted by my friend Karen, which is Knitting in Labradors. She has a podcast on YouTube, and also she has her Instagram account. And then there's also Gemma, whose podcast, I believe, and also the Instagram is called The Midnight Diary. That's diary as in yarn diary rather as in your diary journal thing. Anyway, I shall hopefully put the links to them or the details of them in the description box and put text in the video if I remember and can remember how to do that. So this is, I'm going to have to look at the notes for the name of it, the Midnight Labradors Mini Make-Along. So it's just a make-along of children's clothes as far as I can remember. If you go back and look at some of their previous podcasts, I believe they have mentioned it there. I'll also be putting a picture of that on my Instagram with the hashtag. So that is, yeah, to be entered into that make-along. So those are the 2 finished objects that I've got for this week. There is technically a half-finished object. I've done one of a pair of socks, but I can't show it yet because the yarn, very excitingly, one of my friends is starting to dye some of her own yarn, and she kindly sent me some to do some testing with. So once she has kind of launched her yarn brand, I will certainly show what I've made with it and show you the yarns, because it is really, really lovely. and it's really hard not to be sharing photos and stuff because it is just so gorgeous. So that will be coming as Instagram and podcast spam once I can talk about that. So moving on then to the whips. I've now realised I've put my notes on top of my whips, so again, bear with me while I just do a bit of rearranging. Okay, so the first whip that I have got is using one of the yarns that I showed as an acquisition last time. I keep wanting to say last week. I know it wasn't last week, it's been about 3 weeks. I actually thought I'd really struggled to get enough content, but it feels like, well, hopefully, I mean, I'm 10 minutes in now, but it feels like I have managed to get some things moved along. So whips turned into finished objects. There are a few more acquisitions, which is probably always going to be the case because I am guilty of buying too much yarn and not having enough time to knit it. Anyway, so one of the acquisitions that I had was some bamboo yarn, which is really, really nicely coloured. So this is the Rico Designs Superba Bamboo. It was a 100-gram ball and it's a 4-ply. So I'm just knitting a pair of vanilla socks with this, but it looks fantastic. I think it does anyway. This is just kind of selling the yarn, not trying to big up my own, what am I even trying to say? Yeah, so I think it looks great, as in the yarn looks great. I'm not trying to sound big-headed about my own knitting or anything, but I just love how it kind of chops and changes between the patterns. And so the cuff and heel, I couldn't tell you what it's in, some generic white that I have in stash that I just use for kind of heels and cuffs and toes. This is going to be for my sister. Sorry, I'm really bad at remembering to just hold it up and hold it still. So I've done a slightly longer leg this time. I've started moving some of my stitch markers off now, which I think I did it as an 80 round leg because I'd done her repair previously with a 60 round leg plus the cuff, and it's just not quite the kind of long cozy sock that she was wanting. So we've done it slightly longer this time. With the foot, I'm up to, I believe, 65 rounds now. I'm actually going to put these onto scrap until I see her in a couple of weeks. So I do very similar to what the Crazy Sock Lady does, in that I put these stitch markers every 10 rounds, just the little light bulb stitch markers. Oh, they're all tangled and twisted now. Anyway, so I mark every 10 rounds, so it's fairly easy to work out. But I basically want to be able to absolutely nail down the kind of the recipe for socks to fit her, so that when I'm making future pairs, I know exactly where I need to knit to on different lengths of leg and foot. And then, yeah, so I'm going to get to try these on at the current length that they're at. And then if they're fine, then I will pop the toe on. If they're not, obviously we can just add a bit more. And then I'll have the second sock to do, which, just with it being a vanilla sock, it should be quite a quick one. These ones are being knit on my Lagoon 9 inches, and see if I can, 2.25 millimeters. This is the problem when you're kind of trying to read. It's really small writing and my eyesight is not great. So that's what we've got to with on these. So that is the first whip that I've got to show you. Just to comment on the yarn, with it being bamboo, I am really, really impressed with it. It's really soft. It's not my colours, but I would definitely buy it and make myself in a different colourway. This one is colourway 038. So again, I don't think Rico tend to put names on any of their colours, but it is really, really nice to knit with. Really, really soft. It's got a good amount of stretch in it as well. So I think I will definitely buy it again. I think it was maybe kind of £6 or £8 for the ball for the 100 grams, so I'll easily get the full pair of socks and then some out of that. So yeah, first whip all done. The second whip, I mentioned last time that I am making a Cozy Memories blanket. So, and then I put on my Instagram stories just a bit of a open comment box, like just basically seeing what people wanted in the second podcast. And one of my friends from Knit Group called Katie said that she would like to see the cozy memories that I've been working on. So as it's kind of a long-term project, I won't always show it as a whip, but it was mentioned, so I will show you where I've got to. It's only been going, I think I started it in either January or February, so it's a couple of months in. I don't do it all the time, so we've got kind of 6 squares there, started on the second row, and then another 5 along there. So it's all kind of a bit of a mess at the minute. I did start with sewing in some of my ends, and that's gone out the window now. I do need to sew some more in. So yeah, I'm really enjoying doing this one, and I have just wound up a bunch of other kind of scrappy pieces to add into it. It is Sunday that I'm recording this. Sunday, what are we, the 3rd of April, so I will be trying to keep up with doing a bit of a Scrappy Sunday. I told my partner Sam about the concept of Scrappy Sunday, and he now tells me off if I'm working on this and it's not a Sunday, because apparently I can only do it on Scrappy Sundays. I told him to get lost about that, obviously very kindly, but yeah, I really enjoy doing it when I don't really want to be following a pattern. If it's on a kind of a evening after work where I'm a bit too tired to pay attention to anything too complex, it's a really nice, easy, sort of mindless one. And I really like the sense of achievement that you get at the end of a project. So you kind of get that a bit having done every little square on here. So I'm really enjoying doing this, mainly using just ends of skeins and a couple of minis. I've got a couple of mini subscriptions that come monthly, so those are being added into here, and I bulk bought a couple of back orders of the Friends mini club that Castleview Yarns was doing, so some of those will end up in here. And then a couple of friends have also been really kind and gifted me some of their scraps. So I was showing a picture of them to my sister, and she said they look far nicer than being scraps. I was like, yeah, scraps isn't really the right word for it because it's beautiful hand-dyed yarn. It just happens to be the small amounts that are left over. So this is my Cozy Memories blanket. I should probably say it is the Cosiest Memory pattern by Kemepr Wray, and I'm doing it on 2.5 double pointed needles. They are Knit Pro Zing ones, I believe. So yeah, just because it's what I had lying around, and yeah, really enjoying it. So I will probably update on this maybe when I've done, certainly completed along the kind of the second row of what I've got so far. It will be going out further on the width as well. It was just getting a bit out of hand having one very long thin piece, so I thought I'd try and bulk it out a bit and then add on to the side. So I will show some more of that as we go along. And the third whip that I've got is actually in a project bag. So I'm really short on project bags. I need to get myself some more, or stop having so many things on the needles, which is probably the more sensible idea, but I love a project bag, so I'm probably just going to get some more. Anyway, this one is in this lovely project bag from Lauren Aston Designs. So this was part of a Christmas present from a friend. They're really good bags, just nice drawstring, really easy to use, and you know, hilarious. So these socks, definitely worth a place in one of my favourite bags, I have to say as well. I do, I don't know if anyone else does this, so projects which I feel like are more favourite projects definitely get like the more favourite bags to go in. These socks, just bear with me, I'm just going to pull the notes a bit closer because I do want to be able to read what I put here. So I talked about this yarn in my last podcast, but completely fumbled on remembering to tell you much about it, and there is a proper kind of story and reason behind this pattern. It's one which my knit group are doing as a knit along, and the pattern is the Lara's Legacy socks. So Gemma, who I mentioned earlier, whose account is the Midnight Diary, designed this. I think previously she was under the name of the project bag, so the pattern might be under that name, but I think if you followed her through on socials you would find her account anyway and find the pattern. So the Lara's Legacy socks, the proceeds from buying the pattern, rather, they all go to Bliss, which is a charity, and Sorry, I'm just going to read this straight off the notes. So they fund research into prematurity and fetal medicine and work to improve neonatal care. It's really a personal charity, personal, I don't want to say issue, that's not the right word, but for Gemma anyway. Really sadly, she lost her daughter at a really young age. I think it was around 30 days old, and I cannot imagine what that must be like. So Gemma's daughter was called Lara, and she has designed these socks in Lara's memory. So as our knitting group, we are doing this as a knit along. Is such a gorgeous pattern. So if I try and show it a little closer, you can see this, hopefully see, it's kind of a lacy pattern. So it works with that. I've never done that stitch before. It's called an embroidery stitch, and then it's got a little cable that runs down either side of it. So that one's just a nice little twist cable. The pattern suggests doing a cabled cast on, which I hadn't done before, but I'm trying to be good when I do new sock patterns, and if it tells you to do a specific cast on, I'm actually trying to do it. Just otherwise I'll go for like my default, either a long-tailed or I don't even know the name for the cast on that I would otherwise do, because it's what I just kind of originally picked up with. It's probably like a knitted cast on or something similar to that. Anyway, the cabled cast on, it was a little fiddly, but I got there in the end, and I actually quite like how it's come out. It doesn't look massively different to any other cast on. It is quite neat though, which I do like, and it does have a bit of give in it, a bit of stretch. So I will show this again as it is further progressed, which will either be still as a whip or possibly as a finished object, depending on how quickly I get on with it. The pattern was for long socks, but I don't really wear them, so I've turned it into doing as shorties. I don't tend to do a heel flapping gusset anymore for my socks. I do tend to go for the shadow wrap heel most of the time, but I'm sticking to the pattern because I do want to make sure that it fits in with this gorgeous embroidery stitch. And yeah, so we'll see how these go, but it's a really, really lovely pattern, and really pleased with how it's knitting up. I should probably tell you I'm knitting it again on Chow Goose, so these will be my no, these are 2.25, so the other ones must have been the 2.5. I can't remember what I told you they were. It's the Sirdar Country Classic colour 0963, I think that says. Looks like it anyway. Told you I can't really see very much when it's that far away, so apologies. I will either write bigger or put my notes in a better place next time. And then I've just got my cable needle, which I can't even remember where I got this from anymore. So funny story about this, I usually have my hair up in a bun or a ponytail or something, and when I'm working on projects with a cable needle, you know, I do my bit of cabling, and then so that I don't lose the needle or like lose it down the sofa or anything, I just kind of slot it in my hair for storage. And I was heading upstairs the other night, and my fiance said, "Are you going to take your antenna out before you go to bed?" So I'd left it kind of tucked into my bun, completely forgotten it was there. Pretty sure I have gone to bed with it in my hair before. So yeah, not ideal. Probably stabbed myself in the head at some point, but for me it's a really convenient storage place. I mentioned this again to the knitting group girls, and they all thought I was really weird for keeping a cable needle in my hair, but to me it just makes sense. It's a bit like people, you know, they store pens in their hair and stuff. So excuse me, I'm just going to have a bit more tea because my voice is starting to go now. Okay, so hopefully I will be able to make it through to the end without my voice completely going. This might be a slightly shorter one just because of the slight vocal issues that we're having, and I don't really want to go back to the stage of having lost my voice. It was a bit interesting in work when I was trying to talk to people and explain stuff to my clients, and I couldn't really talk to them. I was kind of whispering across a meeting room. So I mentioned about the Instagram stories that I did, where I just said to people, you know, what would you like to see a bit more of in the podcast? And a couple of people said that they wanted to hear a bit more about projects that I was planning to cast on, kind of so future projects or dream knitting. So I don't have a lot of kind of dream knitting as such. I'm trying to be really good and not get too overexcited by patterns. So, you know, I look at things and think, oh, that's really nice, I'd like to make that at some point in the future. but I don't like bulk buy patterns thinking I'll make that at some point, because I know I probably won't get around to doing most of them. So I've just realised I've not actually got all of the stuff that I need for one part here, so bear with me. So it turns out I had it all along. I was just looking for the wrong thing. I thought it was still in the plastic bag it got delivered in. It's not, it's in a project bag now. So we will turn to that in a second. So one thing I know that I will be casting on at some point is more socks, because I love making socks. As I mentioned, the bamboo socks are going to go on hold for the moment, so that will free up a pair of needles. I have run out of spare sock needles, so I either need to get on with what I'm knitting or buy more. So I will definitely be turning this into some socks really soon. So I've just caked this up. You can see all of those colours in there. I think I showed this as an acquisition last time. It is the Woolly Mamas yarn. I've not got the tag because we were looking after a friend's dog and the dog tried to eat it. I want to say it's called Bahamas. I should have checked again. So second time in a row I've shown the wool and not been able to remember any of the details, but it's a 4-ply, and yeah, I've just got this caked up because I was winding up a few minis. I thought I just need to get this on the go because I've been looking at it in my stash for ages and it's just so pretty. I just really like squishing kind of freshly wound cakes as well. I'll pop that back there for the time being. And the other thing I'm going to cast on in terms of socks, there's a pattern called the Broken Seed Stitch socks. So it's Hanna Levaniemi. Probably got that wrong, sorry. Anyway, I was given a really gorgeous skein of yarn for Christmas. So this was by Olann, I think they're called Olann Mills on their Instagram. It's a 400 meters, 100 gram, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere and 10% nylon. So we'll do a really nice pair of socks. Again, I'll probably just do shorties with these, but in that pattern. So there's a bit of a story behind this yarn, as I said, about my sister living in London. I went to visit her a while back and we were in Richmond where the Tribe Yarn shop is, and I really wanted to go. I'd seen about their stuff on Instagram and it looked so nice, but unfortunately on the days that I were there and we were out in the Richmond area, the shop wasn't open on those days. So my sister went back to the shop to buy me this as part of my Christmas present. As I said, she's not a big knitter herself, and you know, if I was trying to pick stuff for her hobbies about baking and things, I would have no idea what to get. And similarly, I think she needed a bit of input, so she said she had a really long conversation with the shop staff about this, and they helped her pick kind of the right bases for it being sock yarn and things. And she knows me well, so she knows the colours that I'd like. So these will be very special socks because it was gifted yarn. It is so nice and soft. I think it's got that cashmere in it as well. With it being part of the pattern, it will probably have contrast cuffs, heel and toe. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how that one will knit up. And the other kind of yarn that I've got with plans for it, this is another of the Lara Aston Designs. The project bags, this one's kind of a bigger one. In my head I was calling like the small one was like an A5 and this is an A4. They're not those kind of paper sizes, just one's big, one's small. So I have, this is leading into a bit of an acquisitions as well, but I've just recently bought 13, I think, of the Lana Gatto silk mohair. It is so soft and squishy. This colour is Fox. Is it Fox or Fox Red? I think it's just called Fox. So I will run through this now rather than covering that in the acquisitions. So yeah, so the Lana Gatto silk mohair, it's a 75% super kid mohair and 25% silk. I am planning to make a cardigan with this. So again, just mentioning the knit group, I feel like I've talked about them and nothing else. But we are doing a make-along to support Ukrainian designers. So the general idea is we pick a pattern that we like, where it's been designed by someone who's in Ukraine, and the money will just, be a very small help to them. But whilst a lot of them, they're not able to work or carry about their normal lives at the moment, it's just doing what little bits we can to support them. Digital patterns, it's really easy to just buy it on Ravelry or wherever else you choose to get your patterns from. And yeah, so the pattern I'm going to be making is called the Lagoon Chunky Cardigan, and it's by Victoria Chaplina. Her Etsy shop is called My Charming Wool. So if I can remember to do it at the end, I will put a picture in of what the cardigan pattern is like. Otherwise, I will just have to show you once it's done. I need to get on with doing a swatch for this. I am guilty of not swatching for most of my projects, but this yarn was a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a bit of a splurge on this yarn, so it's more than I would usually spend for a sweater's quantity, but with it being the mohair, it just looked gorgeous. So you hold 4 strands of it and work those 4 at once. It should give you that really nice kind of fluffy, voluminous look to it, and I just love the colour. I kind of justified it to myself by saying I've not got a jumper in this sort of yellowy orange colour yet, so it will be a a good piece to add to the wardrobe. That's what I told myself anyway. So that is probably top of the list in things to cast on, other than just doing kind of vanilla socks, which I tend to always have on the go. I can't remember when this make along ends. I should probably look. I want to say it's like June time or something like that. So I've got a bit of time, but I do need to get on with it because I've never worked with mohair before. I'm quite excited to give it a go, and also just really want to have this cardigan. I'm sat here stroking the yarn now like it's a cat. So I'll probably just be like wearing the cardigan and like stroking it on my arm. I don't know, that sounds really weird now. So I'll put that away and stop treating my yarn like an animal. I'm just gonna have more tea because I don't know if you can hear that my voice is going again. Complete side note, but look how adorable this mug is. So the sun's shining on that. No, I don't know how to block that just so you can see. It's got little puppies on it. So my friend gave me this for my birthday. My parents have a cockapoo, and I love him to bits. He's called Rufus, and yeah, she got me this because it had the dogs on, and she thought it reminded her of Rufus. So yeah, it is my favourite mug, and it's just really cute. So anyway, enough about dogs and mugs and tea. So acquisitions is second to last section of this, I think. So I've shown you the Lana Gatto. This is the problem with doing mohair. You get fluff everywhere and it makes your nose itch. Anyway, showing you the Lana Gatto silk mohair that I got. I also got in that order, so I ordered it from knit.co.uk. That's knit with a double T. I haven't ordered from there before, but if you've watched a couple of knitting podcasts, you've probably heard people talk about it. They had a really good range of stuff actually, and I kind of picked one of the yarns that they stocked because I wanted to order from there. And yeah, really impressed with it. I've got a couple of balls of the Lana Arvetta Classic as well. I needed some additional kind of just neutrals to do contrasts on heels and toes. So I don't think, no, I've not got one of those to hand at the moment. But I mean, it's plain white yarns, it's not that exciting. It was just part of the order, so I thought I'd mention it. But yeah, really, really impressed with the stuff that came, and so I know some people have said they've got like delivery within less than 24 hours. I think it must have been a really busy time when I ordered, because I wouldn't say mine was quite that fast, but it was fine because I was away on the weekend after I'd ordered it anyway, so if it had arrived then I wouldn't have been at home to knit it. So yeah, and as you can see, I've not actually swatched it yet. I have used some of the Lana on the secret socks that I have made because I needed to have a contrast with those. So yeah, the other acquisition that I got, so if I show you the teeny tiny box, I'll show you this way around so you don't see my address. This is from Yarn for the Soul. As I mentioned, I have a couple of clubs that I have where I get a monthly mini skein, and this one for the Yarn for the Soul is Peter Rabbit themed. So this one, if I just remind myself, the book is The Tale of Johnny Town Mouse. So Town Mouse and Country Mouse. So I couldn't tell you the exact details of the story, but I'm certainly aware of Town Mouse and Country Mouse as a Beatrix Potter story. And this is the yarn. So really pretty blues in that. I don't know if you can see the yarn or if it's just trying to get my face. So yeah, all of those different blues in there, and then that sort of creamy beigey background. So I've been really good and haven't wound this up yet to put into my blanket because I wanted to have it in this pretty little skein to show on the podcast. Do you know what? Podcasting is a really good way to either stop yourself from rushing into a new cast on or getting the new yarn going, or to get stuff finished. So the 2 jumpers that I showed you as the finished objects, that was my goal. I thought I'm going to have those finished to show. The big one, adult size one, the drops one, I also needed the needles for the sweater that I'm doing with the sweater cardigan. I don't know why I called it a sweater. I've never called it a sweater in my life. I think it's all the knitting YouTube that I've been watching has started to infiltrate. So the cardigan that I'm making with the mohair, I needed the same needle size, and it's just the one set of tips that I've got in that size. So yeah, I had to get that done, which is good. It gave me the incentive to do it because it had been sat around for ages. Kind of, I got bored of it because it is just a plain knit jumper with a raglan. But yeah, it made me finish it. So that was my other acquisition, the Peter Rabbit one. I think in the last one I might have showed the previous Peter Rabbit club, which was Mopsy, Flopsy and Cottontail, which had again those sort of creamy beigey bases, had pinks running through it. So I believe that this one runs for a year, in which case I will stick with it for the year. I know I've seen other people have had it and have mentioned that their year's kind of coming up, so I think it gets repeated once a year if I'm right. So yeah, I'll stick with it for the time being. It's really pretty. I can't wait to see how this is going to kind of work up with all those blues in it. So that might have to be today's square in the Cozy Memories actually. And then finally on the acquisitions part, so I mentioned, I think, that a couple of my friends had sent me some of their odds and ends to add into my Cozy Memories. I mean, you only need about, I think I use about 3 or 4 grams per square on it. So it's not really that much. So you can get quite a lot out of kind of the ends of the yarn that you've got. So anyway, my really lovely friend Karen, who I mentioned earlier, who has the account of Knitting and Labradors, she was having a bit of a clear out of some of her scraps and her mini skeins, and she said, you know, can she send me a couple of them as a bit of kind of a congratulations for getting my first podcast done. And you know, I'm never going to turn down yarn. It was really kind of her. They're in a freezer bag at the moment, which I don't think will show the colours brilliantly, and I have actually just wound all of these into balls, but I mean, I don't know how I'm going to show this. If I try and hold them all, I'm just going to drop them. Obviously not the best being in the freezer bag. It's probably a bit rustly, but you can see all the really nice different colours there. So that was really kind of her to send those. One of the delivery actually is, again, knit group. We have decided to do a Easter swap. So we've been paired up and we are sending 10 grams of yarn for 7 days worth. So my box for that arrived the other day, and I can't wait to open it. The person who sent it actually really kindly put in something for opening as soon as it arrived, so she clearly understands what it's like when you get a yarny delivery and you just want to open it. So she sent me a really cute little set of stitch markers, which I've left in the kitchen, and I'll have to show them another time. But yeah, that'll be a really exciting one to open, and she also put in a couple of her kind of scrappy ends as well. Okay, so I think that is all of the kind of the knitty yarny stuff that I've got to cover. So general chit chat, quite exciting actually. So Saturday next weekend, so 9th of April I think it'll be, I am going to my first ever yarn show. It is the Spring into Wool show, which is in Leeds. I can't remember exactly where, it's in a school somewhere. So I've not been to a yarn show before, but I am so excited. I will be going with my friend Jess, and yeah, I will probably be spending all my money on all of the really nice yarns. So that will give me a very exciting acquisitions section for next time, I hope. Hopefully I'll have lots of lovely yarny goodies to show you. If you've ever been to a yarn show, leave me a note in the comments and tell me which one you've been to, and if you've got any that you're going to this year, again, let me know. I am really tempted to go to the Wool Monty in Sheffield, which I think is summertime, June, July time, some point. It's totally doable within a day from here, so I may well end up going there as well. Just see how much yarn I can sneak back into the house. Other than that, just kind of ticking along with life as normal. So the knit group that I've joined, we have a Friday night Zoom every week, and that's been really nice, just getting to know a few more knitters. So it's really nice kind of seeing people in YouTube comments and Instagram, but it's nice to, even, you know, video isn't quite face to face, but it's still nice to see other people, see what people are working on, and just have a chat. You know, if you've got a quick knitting question, it's really easy to just have a, you know, a quick post in the group that we've got, and, you know, someone's always got the answer. There's so many different levels of ability, experience, people knit in different colours, different types of projects. I've got some crocheters there as well, so excuse me. Oh, I am really struggling with my voice now, and my tea has gone a bit cold, so I'm definitely wrapping this up in a minute. So yeah, knit group has been a really nice addition. And other than that, the other big thing we are doing at the moment is wedding planning. So it's just under 6 months now until I get married. So that, yeah, is very exciting. That's really the main things that I've got going on at the moment. So I will leave it there for today. Hopefully my voice will be fully recovered by next time, and I won't be croaking my way through things. So please do leave a comment to just say hi, let me know what you thought or what you want to see next time. Please do subscribe to the channel as well, and please do pop over onto Instagram as well and say hi there. So I will leave that there for today because I really can't talk anymore. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again for episode 3.